She was riding her pink bicycle in broad daylight. In a quiet Texas neighborhood, under the eyes of witnesses, 9-year-old Amber Hagerman vanished in just 8 minutes. No one saw where she went, only how fast she disappeared. What followed would haunt America for decades. It was an ordinary Saturday afternoon in Arlington, Texas. The air was crisp, the sky clear, and the neighborhood quiet, the kind of place where parents felt safe letting their children ride their bikes without a second thought. Amber Hagerman, a bubbly 9-year-old with dark hair and an even brighter smile, had just finished playing at her grandparents' home. Along with her younger brother Ricky, she pedaled her pink bicycle to a nearby abandoned Winn-Dixie grocery store, a familiar spot just a short distance away. Her grandfather had warned her not to go past the corner, but in a moment of childhood rebellion, Amber went a little further, eager for just a bit more fun. What happened next would plunge a nation into horror. At 3:08 p.m., Ricky turned back home, leaving Amber behind to enjoy a few more minutes riding up and down the loading ramp behind the vacant store. It was a place many neighborhood kids frequented, isolated but not completely hidden. Just minutes after Ricky left, a man named Jim Kevill, who lived nearby and had a clear view of the lot from his backyard, heard a scream. He looked out to see a black pickup truck making a sharp turn into the lot. Inside he saw a man, white or Hispanic in his 20s or 30s, forcibly lifting a struggling girl into the truck. She was kicking and screaming. Then the truck sped away. It was 3:18 p.m. Just 10 minutes had passed since Amber and her brother had arrived. Kevill immediately called the police, giving as much detail as he could, the make of the truck, the driver's general appearance, and what he saw. Within minutes, officers were at the scene. But despite the urgency, they found almost nothing. No tire tracks, no dropped items, no trail. The only evidence was the chilling eyewitness testimony and Amber's abandoned bicycle lying on the ramp, eerily untouched. The crime had taken place in broad daylight. Houses surrounded the lot. Yet somehow no one else had seen a thing. The police moved fast, canvassing the area, going door to door, and questioning everyone who might have seen or heard something. Helicopters were deployed, roadblocks were set up, and Amber's photo was broadcast on local news stations within hours. But the kidnapper had vanished into thin air. It was as if he knew exactly when to strike, exactly how long he had, and exactly how to disappear. The abduction had taken just 8 minutes. 8 silent, brutal minutes. Amber's family was devastated. Her mother, Donna Williams, appeared on television within hours, pleading for her daughter's safe return. Tears streamed down her face as she begged the public for help. The community quickly rallied around the family. Volunteers joined the search, printing flyers, organizing vigils, and flooding the area with hope that Amber was still alive. Tips poured in but none led anywhere. It was as if Amber had been swallowed by the earth. As the hours turned into days, the questions multiplied. How could someone snatch a child in daylight, within view of nearby homes, and not leave a single clue? Why had no other witness come forward? Had the kidnapper been watching Amber, stalking her movements and waiting for the perfect moment? The precision of the crime stunned investigators. It wasn't chaotic or sloppy. It was fast, deliberate, and terrifyingly efficient. Law enforcement agencies from neighboring cities joined the hunt. They re-examined every detail, revisited every inch of the crime scene, and reviewed every lead, no matter how minor. But Amber had simply disappeared. There were no ransom calls. No demands. No communications of any kind. The silence was deafening. And for every day that passed, hope grew thinner. 4 days later, on January 17th, around midnight, a man walking his dog near a creek bed discovered something horrifying. It was Amber's body, nude, lifeless, and partially submerged in a stream behind an apartment complex just a few miles from the abduction site. The medical examiner later determined she had been kept alive for 2 days, sexually assaulted, and then murdered. Her throat slashed so severely it nearly decapitated her. The discovery shattered whatever remaining hope the family had. Donna Williams collapsed upon hearing the news. The community, once unified in hope, fell into mourning. A funeral was held, attended by hundreds. Amber's pink bicycle, the last thing she'd touched, became a haunting symbol of innocence lost. Despite the massive effort, the investigation hit a wall. The witness's description of the truck, a black, single-cab pickup with a short wheelbase and possibly a rear window, matched thousands in the area. No forensic evidence was found on Amber's body or at the site where she was dumped. The location, like the abduction spot, was visible, accessible, yet no one had seen a thing. It was as if the killer was always one step ahead, always invisible. The kidnapping of Amber Hagerman wasn't just another tragic story, it was a wake-up call. A chilling reminder that even in the safest seeming neighborhoods, evil can strike, silently, efficiently, and without warning. It took just 8 minutes for a little girl to vanish. And nearly 3 decades later, her killer remains unknown, free, and possibly watching. Within hours of Amber Hagerman's abduction, the entire Arlington community mobilized into a frenzy of activity, fear, and raw desperation. Flyers with her photograph blanketed the city. Volunteers combed wooded areas, alleys, creeks, and abandoned buildings. Candlelight vigils lit up the streets each night. People who had never spoken to each other before joined forces, linked by a single question that no one could answer. Where was Amber? Her family was at the center of the storm. Donna Williams, Amber's mother, barely slept. She spent each day pleading with the public through television cameras, her voice shaking as she begged whoever had taken her daughter to bring her back. The images of Donna, her face pale, her eyes swollen from crying, became familiar to millions. Each televised plea was more emotional than the last, and each seemed to erode her more visibly. It was not just a mother in distress, it was a woman unraveling before the nation's eyes. News coverage quickly turned national. Reporters from across the country descended on Arlington, transforming the small town into the epicenter of a tragic media storm. Every press conference was broadcast live. Every update, however small, made headlines. For a time, Amber's name was on every screen, her story embedded in the minds of parents everywhere. The fear spread beyond Texas. In neighborhoods across the country, people began to wonder, if this could happen in broad daylight in a quiet suburban town, could it happen here too? But as the days wore on and no new information emerged, the atmosphere shifted from frantic hope to silent horror. Leads were chased down feverishly. People who owned black pickup trucks were questioned. Known sex offenders were interrogated. Tips came in by the hundreds, then thousands. One lead suggested a man had been seen lurking near the store earlier that day. Another claimed to have seen a girl matching Amber's description at a convenience store an hour after the abduction. But none of it stuck. No surveillance footage. No DNA. No witnesses beyond Jim Kevill. It felt like chasing a ghost. The detectives on the case were tormented by the lack of progress. Despite a strong start, the investigation began to stagnate. They worked around the clock, reviewing the same evidence again and again, hoping they missed something, a detail, a pattern, anything. But the precision of the crime left no openings. Whoever had taken Amber knew how to leave no trail. On January 17, 4 days after her disappearance, the moment everyone feared finally arrived. At 11:59 p.m., a man walking his dog near a creek bed behind an apartment complex called the police after spotting something disturbing in the water. Officers responded immediately, their hearts heavy with the unspoken possibility they all dreaded. There in the shallow creek they found her. Amber's body was recovered partially submerged, badly battered, and naked. The official autopsy revealed that she had been kept alive for 2 days before being viciously murdered. Her throat had been slit so deeply that it nearly severed her head. She had been sexually assaulted. The brutality was staggering. The killer hadn't just taken her. He had tortured her, violated her, and then discarded her body like trash in a dirty, open stream. The recovery site was only 4 miles from where she had been taken. In that densely populated area, surrounded by apartment buildings, businesses, and foot traffic, someone had dropped off her body, and yet, again, no one had seen a thing. That kind of invisibility shouldn't have been possible. It chilled investigators to their core. It meant the perpetrator was either highly skilled or terrifyingly lucky. The aftermath broke the city. Amber's funeral was held days later and was attended by over 500 people. Friends, neighbors, media personnel, and strangers who had come to know her story. Her pink bicycle, a symbol of innocence and joy, stood silently near her casket. Her mother collapsed as the coffin was lowered. The pain was so raw, so overwhelming that even seasoned police officers wept. They had failed. The community had failed. And worst of all, the monster who had done this was still out there. Rumors began to circulate. Was it someone local? Someone who had watched Amber before? The precision of the abduction suggested prior knowledge, that he knew she would be there, alone, at that time. Was he a repeat offender who had simply gone unnoticed for years? Or was he someone hiding in plain sight, blending in with the same people searching for her? More questions emerged than answers. Every man in town who matched the vague description of the suspect became a target of whispers. Neighbors eyed each other with suspicion. Parents tightened their grip on their children's hands. It wasn't just about Amber anymore, it was about the fear that something evil was living among them, still breathing their air. Detectives pushed forward. The FBI became involved. A task force was created. Crime labs reanalyzed every piece of evidence. Still nothing surfaced. It was as if the killer had been swallowed by the earth, just like Amber had been, until she was dumped back out of it. And as the days turned into weeks, the crowds that once marched in search parties slowly thinned. The news crews pulled back. The national spotlight faded. But for Amber's family, the nightmare never stopped. They were left with grief, rage, and an unanswered scream frozen in time. The one she let out as she was taken, the one heard by a single man, and no one else. In the wake of Amber Hagerman's brutal murder, a chilling stillness hung over Arlington. The community that had once rallied with so much urgency now found itself paralyzed by a singular truth. Her killer had vanished, leaving behind only pain and questions that time refused to answer. But even amid grief and helplessness, something remarkable happened. From the ashes of Amber's tragedy, a movement ignited, one that would go on to reshape how America responded to child abductions forever. It began with a desperate, angry plea from Amber's mother, Donna. Just days after burying her daughter, she stood in front of television cameras once again, but this time with a different purpose. Her voice cracked with sorrow, but behind it burned fury. She demanded to know why there hadn't been an alert system, a warning that could have reached the public the moment Amber was taken. Why wasn't there a way to tell people right away that a little girl had been kidnapped? She asked. Maybe someone could have saved her. That question resonated far beyond Texas. It struck a nerve with broadcasters, law enforcement officials, and legislators. In the weeks following Amber's death, a coalition of concerned citizens and policymakers began crafting what would become a revolutionary public alert system. The idea was simple. When a child was abducted and law enforcement believed the child was in imminent danger, media outlets and highway signs would immediately broadcast the alert, mobilizing the public in real time. The system was named in Amber's honor, Amber Alert, a haunting tribute to the girl whose case had shocked the nation. But it wasn't just about her. The program's creators knew they couldn't bring Amber back, but they could ensure that no other child would disappear unnoticed. The first official Amber Alert launched in the Dallas-Fort Worth area just months after her death. Over time, it spread from state to state, becoming a national standard. Eventually, alerts were sent to phones, digital billboards, and even in-store announcements. It became a lifeline, a siren in the darkness, and it worked. Since its creation, Amber Alerts have helped recover over 1,000 abducted children. Each one of those lives is a testament to what came from Amber's story, a brutal, senseless loss transformed into a life-saving mechanism. The system's success brought Donna Williams some solace, but never closure. While she became a vocal advocate for child safety and traveled the country telling her daughter's story, her own questions remained unanswered. Her daughter's killer was still out there. And she knew that even with the entire country watching, justice had never arrived for Amber. Years passed. The investigation remained open but stagnant. Every few years, a tip would emerge, a potential suspect, a prison confession, or a new piece of evidence, but each one led to a dead end. Detectives who had been on the original case retired. New investigators picked up the file, each hoping they'd be the one to crack the code. But the case was ice cold. The FBI continued to keep it in their database. The composite sketch, created from the one witness's memory, was circulated again and again. It showed a generic-looking man in his 20s or 30s, possibly white or Hispanic, driving a black pickup truck. Thousands of trucks matching that description existed. None led to the killer. The creek where Amber's body was found was revisited years later with advanced forensic tools, but still no trace. No fingerprints. No fibers. No DNA. It was as though the killer had not only vanished but erased himself from the world entirely. The frustration was unbearable. Donna would often say that not knowing was worse than the grief. "I relive those 8 minutes every day," she once said in an interview. "I wonder what she was thinking, what she was feeling, if she was scared. Did she call for me? Did she hope someone would save her? And did she know that I never stopped looking?" The tragedy of Amber Hagerman didn't end with her death. It deepened with the silence that followed. Her story became more than just a case. It became a cautionary tale, a symbol, and a ghost that still haunts the system created in her name. And every time an Amber Alert goes out, Donna hopes it does more than just inform the public. She hopes it reminds someone of what was lost, and of the justice still missing. In recent years, there have been renewed pushes to solve her case. Advances in DNA technology have given law enforcement new tools, and cold case investigators have revisited evidence with fresh eyes. Some have even called for the use of genealogy databases, The same method that helped catch the Golden State Killer, in hopes that a single overlooked trace might finally lead to an answer. But so far nothing definitive has emerged. Amber would be in her late 30s today. She might have become a mother herself, a teacher, an astronaut, the dream she once talked about. Instead, she remains forever 9 years old, frozen in time, her face immortalized in missing child posters and on the Amber Alert website. The world changed because of her. Lives were saved because of her. But for her family, none of it can fill the void. The system born from her loss is a powerful legacy, but the man who took her has never paid for what he did. And until he is found, the story of Amber Hagerman will remain not just a tragedy, but an open wound on the soul of a nation.